Hello and welcome to Artists in the Wild, a podcast brought to you by Bitten Music. Today we're happy to introduce our very special guest, Jacob Slocum.
You guys aren't focusing on that phone right now, but it's documenting us. You know,
Hopefully.
Yeah. I hope I hit record. If not, this will be an audio podcast and there won't be any video involved.
I can play a note and help someone feel better even if they don't speak my language. And that's the goal.
Hello and welcome back to Artists in the Wild. We have a very special guest with us today that I'm very excited to introduce. Jacob Slocum.
Hey.
Welcome to the podcast, Jacob. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm very excited. Working on some projects. One that I just recorded last fall and getting ready to release that. It's a good.
It's an incredibly timely release too for the least of these, and it's dealing with a lot of the stuff that's happening right now amazingly.
Yes, if any of you are watching the news right now, you can tell that the world is a messed up place.
Yes.
And so this album that I just recorded, it's a protest album against pretty much all of that's going on right now. Because all the atrocities that are happening right now are being carried out by people who claim to be Christian, and that's...
Yeah, it's an amazing. Yeah, and Father Flager did an amazing job. Adding, basically working in tandem with you and your ideas and building them out. It was just amazing.
Yeah. So I'm very excited about this release because, as you were saying, I think the message continues to be very timely.
Even more so than it was.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I think I want to get started by first just Jacob telling us a bit about you. For people who don't know or who are maybe first time hearing your name, what's your story? Who are you? Stuff like that.
So my name's Jacob Slocum. I'm a baritone saxophonist. That's my main instrument, but I also play all the other low woodwind instruments. And I am originally from Wisconsin, but I've been in the Chicagoland area for longer than I was in Wisconsin at this point. My music, I would say the main genres that I'm involved in are jazz and gospel. But there's a lot of subgenres in that, and there's a lot of other genres that I'm a part of as well. And then my composing reflects that. And so I've had ensembles of different shapes and sizes, I've released 5 albums at this point. So if you go to Bitten,
there you go.
You can see all
and
5 of them.
And more coming.
And there's more coming.
Yes.
And each of those albums there's different musicians and different bands that are part of it. Because at that point in time, that's how my writing was taking shape.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Well, so obviously you're an artist through and through. I've had the pleasure of being taught by you. You're obviously very talented. I think you're a great
thank you, man.
teacher, a great musician. But I think a question that I like to start this off with is breaking down the fundamentals of everything. To you, why is music important?
For me, music is love and light. I would say for me, it's the best way of communicating God's love in this world that so desperately needs it. It's vibration and it's energy, and I can play a note and help someone feel better even if they don't speak my language. And that's the goal. So any note that I play, any note that my band is playing together can help, through that energy transfer, help someone feel better and someone feel loved.
Yeah. That's...
Yeah.
Were you going to say something?
It's like touching something bigger than you are.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
So now I want to break down into... So obviously I think that's a super insightful piece of just what music is. Now, you've been a musician for a long time. It's been part of your blood, part of your DNA. Into the world that we live in now, the way that the music industry is, anyone that is wanting to become a musician, to do this as more than a hobby and actually build a career off of it, what do you think are some of the setbacks that people are going to see becoming a musician now?
I think there's always setbacks pursuing a career in the arts. I mean, there's always going to be setbacks because with art, the what you're going for doesn't necessarily translate to tangible, like, oh, I got an award, or oh, I got a medal or a trophy. Yeah. Like, that's not how art works. I mean, that's how competitions work. That's how sports work. That's how, a regular job works. But art it's the result that you're going for is something you can't monetize that. So all that to say, I would say at any time, pursuing a career in music or art is going to be challenging, and you have to be in it for the love. That's what matters most. But I would say in this particular time, becoming a musician or artist, that's hard because music schools, I mean, I went to music school. I have 2 degrees in music, and so I see the great benefits of that route. But I also see the great drawbacks of that route, and there's other friends of mine and peers of mine who did not go to music school, who are amazing musicians and artists in their own right, and so it doesn't matter, really. It does and it doesn't. Like, it helps, but it can also hurt you. And there's also another thing about, like, when you teach art, you kind of like put it in a box, and so you can unknowingly create a lot of robots. Yeah. People who are like, oh, they're good at doing what's in this box, but in terms of actually creating art, they're not really thinking that way. So there's that pitfall that comes with music school, but that's just music school. Like, then we talk about like the field of music, performing music. I mean, you have to be versatile. I mean, that's one thing that any musician, artist, you go up to them on the street, like, they have to be versatile, because then you can make a different many different sources of income to make your living, because I mean, you have to eat. I mean, that you have to have a roof over your head. These are things that are important, so you have to be versatile, but then also, like, now we have, with the AI coming into the world, it can be a beautiful tool, and that can help musicians learn, that can help musicians create, 100%. But there's also AI being used in other ways that I feel it's harming musicians and artists, whether that's maybe instead of them hiring a whole band, let's just, have AI create this soundtrack or whatever. Or, instead of the streaming platforms being catered towards artists, they're now being more catered towards AI artists.
Because they can double dip.
Yes, they can double dip, and it's cheap.
Because the AI, it's part of their. They learned from the artists in their streaming platform, and now they can say, "Oh yeah, just use them," and we kind of own them, and.
But I mean, at the same time, I do also want to say that, I think it's easy to point at AI as like some doom and gloom thing. I mean, I've seen Terminator, and I think it's not all that. It's kind of like when, Finale came on the scene, like with music notation software or MIDI playback, and it's like that's a tool. And so I think as long as we're using it as a tool to be creative, I think there's great positive things that can come from that. But when it gets towards the other side of that balance, I think that's where we're coming to challenges.
But it's even the challenge of that particular thing is when you do use AI to help you create, it puts a watermark on it. It owns that. So you give it a good idea, thank you very much. From Pseudo or Unio, and they can, if it goes anywhere, they can track it. See, that's I think one of the biggest downsides right now.
Yeah, and I would say that's also to your question that you asked me earlier. Like, I mean, music copyright. I mean, to my mind right now, that's like the Wild West. Like, who owns it? Like, what are the ramifications for using it?
Yeah.
Like, all that stuff, it's kind of like going out the window, or it's going to have to be reinvented now that their AI is on the scene.
Yeah.
So,
Well, just like one of our videos that we just did, about the use of AI to train. A streaming service to train the AI, and the head of the copyright office said, no, that's not fair use, and they got fired the next day. So what do you do with that? Holy cow! Talk about Wild West. It's all the way wild.
Yeah,
that's why we have this artist in the wild.
Because we're all just trying to navigate through and figure it out as we go along. Yeah. But so I want to touch on just I think what you said about like music school and like being put into a box sometimes and trying to keep everything in a nice, neat package to kind of deliver to everyone. You've taught before. I've been one of your students, and I think I can claim that I think I've grown as a musician with the 3 years that I learned from you. I wasn't a jazz player whatsoever prior to working with you, and I think, I wouldn't say I'm nowhere near you. I don't hold a flame, but I think I could do all right.
Yeah.
If someone puts on a blues loop, I could most definitely possibly do some stankiness. I don't know. But so since you are a teacher, how do you take that? Like, what is your goal? What is your process of taking a student that has little knowledge of a subject such as music, such a big thing, and making it digestible but unique to that person?
I think, like you brought up a good point. I think it's more like tailoring it to each of your students, because everybody's different. Everybody has different interests and excitements, and so yes, my job when I'm teaching is to help give the tools of like, okay, this is what is kind of expected in this genre, in this setting that we're in right now on your instrument in this ensemble. But that's not like that's only what you can do. And also figuring out what each student is excited by. That's why, I had my students transcribe transcribe famous solos on their instruments every semester. And basically I let the student pick whoever they wanted to study. Because I really want them to be excited by what they're learning, because that's what music is for me. It's exciting. I want to learn this solo, and I want them to feel that same fire, that same passion, and also know that I don't want everybody to transcribe the same solo, because then everybody's going to sound the same. I think encouraging unique differences that each student has is really important. But there is an aspect of teaching where you are like, okay, these are the tools, these are the norms, but I would say don't be dogmatic in that. You can teach people the training ground and then they can explore after that.
Yeah, that's super insightful. So now I want to pose this question to you. As an artist, what do you think are some things that people can do now to like further their career? What are some things that they could do to maybe work around some possible pitfalls that they might see?
I think it's truly follow your heart. And if you're a person who's spiritual, like me, follow the higher power. So for me, I'm following God with everything that I do. But if you're not religious, that doesn't matter. Follow your heart. It will lead you the right way. And so your decision, whether in any aspect of your career or your music, it may not make sense. It may not make sense to your family. It may not make sense to your fellow artists who are doing similar things, but that doesn't matter. Follow your heart. That's what's most important. And so, there's many instances where it's like I look at my career and I clearly, all I'm doing is focusing on what I feel God leading my heart to do. And it may not make sense to the people around me, but that doesn't matter. And for me, that's the most fulfilling.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to follow someone else's pattern, well, that's their life.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. Everybody's story is different. So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of your story, what do you think, like, looking back as a kid, what was the first piece of music that you think, like, affected you in a way that you were like, my life is surrounded by music now? What was that one moment, that one piece of music that did that for you?
For me, it was the recording of Eternal Triangle on Sunny Side Up with Sonny Rollins and Sonny Stitt. And particularly, there's this blues lick that Sonny Stitt played in his solo. And when I heard him play that, it was like, oh, like that's me. Like, I always have had a affinity for soul and for blues. And as a saxophonist, like when I heard someone who was like a master at playing also play with that soul and blues, was like, oh, yes, this, whatever this is, like I want to pursue it. And so that was kind of like really what lit my fire as a jazz saxophonist back then.
So going through that, like throughout your career, what are, like, in your mind, what are some, like, the most, like, the highs? What was one of the best moments just going through your career that, like, keeps you anchored and keeps you pushing?
I would say, good question. So the different answers. One of them would be like every time that I followed my heart, follow God leading my heart when it comes to like decisions about my own music career, my own artist career, I've always seen the positive results from that. I've always, like, it may have been weird at the time, but going through it and after it, I was like, I'm so glad I did that. Because it's really helped me to be who I am today. So to give you specific examples, okay, so my first album, Heart, it's a double album, 2 hours of music with around probably 110 different musicians on it.
Fantastic.
I didn't know 110 musicians.
Yeah, I mean, not at the same time, but like
over the whole
album, because I had a concert choir,
fantastic album, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you. And then I had like three different jazz bands, and all of them bringing this to fruition. Would I do this now? No. But am I very glad that I did it at that point in time? Yes, because it kind of helped me to see what was possible, kind of explore the sonic tapestry that was around me, and see that I'm using that to help tell a story. That's what my goal is with every album, is to tell a story, to preach something to the people listening.
Awesome. So obviously, like you said, you have 5 records out right now. Got a 6th one on the way. What is some of the challenges of writing an album? Because I think sometimes, we as artists, sometimes, we start with writing a song and maybe another song, but I mean, a double album, 2 hours worth of music as your debut record is quite, I mean, I'm struggling right now to get 45 minutes of music that I'm like, yeah, this is it. 2 hours worth of music with 110 people being a part of that is huge.
There was a lot of love in that. I would.
That's a huge undertaking.
A lot of people were in love with what you were doing. To be a part of that.
Well, so to answer your question about what's the biggest challenges for bringing a record to fruition, I would say the back half, post-production and finishing the album. Like any artist that I see or encounter, like I'm always encouraging people, like just release it. Just release the record. Just bring it to fruition, because there's so much crap in the world. Yeah. We need good things out there, but also composing the music, performing the music, recording it. That's the easy part. That's like the tip of the iceberg in terms of the amount of work that you need to do for an album. And like anybody could do that. Any musician who's like writing something, or even if they're just arranging, they can do that. But it's like all the work and money and time that's taken into it after that's done. Yeah. That's where it's like, okay, you really have to love this. Yeah. You really have to want to make this come to fruition. Yeah. So,
well, Jeff, I remember in the hallway at school, there is a quote that is right up there. I don't know if you want to speak on that quote that I think definitely pertains to what we're talking about right now.
It was the Michelangelo quote.
Yeah.
That art isn't finished, it's abandoned. Yeah, yeah. You just say, okay, this is done. I'm going.
Because I mean, I think it's an important fact, bringing up, just release it, because we could get stuck in the I got to do this, or I got to do this, I got to do this, and just always. I think part of that is we. I think it's good to go through your art and like try and make it the best version of itself as possible. That's our jobs as artists and engineers and producers, to be mindful about every note that's being played, the way they come across through speakers. But at a certain point, I think sometimes it's done out of fear of releasing it. And if I could find something wrong, it gives me another week to push back, and I don't have to share this with anyone. And I have an excuse of, that's a little flat. We got to work on that section.
Yeah, I would say that the desire, the perfectionist desire, you can get in your own way as an artist. And as someone who's released 5 records at this point, I can say I look at each of them as a journal entry, a sonic journal entry. Like, that's where I was musically and artistically at that point in time. And so, yeah, I listened to all of them and like, oh man, I wish I did this differently. I wish I did that differently. But it was for that time. And so, like, if you're trying to hold on to something to make sure that it's perfect, it's never going to be perfect. And if you hold on to it too long, by the time you're ready to release it, you'll have grown artistically to the point where you don't want to release it because it doesn't speak to who you are at that moment anymore. And so just release it now. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be the best thing that you can offer at that point in time. And then you can look back later and be like, okay, that's where I was at that point in time.
The beauty of your work, though, is you always have the best of the Midwest people in your groups. You have some of the best players, and so you can count on them. That's the thing that it's like kind of, it seems like an anchor for you. You know they're going to give it their all, and they got a lot to give. And so you got good source material.
Yes.
And you have one of the best engineers in the whole United States, Dan Nichols. He's beyond great. He's amazing. So you got a high bar to work with. So it's easier, I honestly think, for you to go, okay, let's just get it done. Because you start out with great content with a great engineer that is just, knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, a particular in your case.
Yeah, I mean, and I have to, I admit, I am fully blessed with all the relationships that God has placed in my life. Like me and Dan. I mean, Dan has been recording ever since I recorded anything. So from my junior recital at NIU way back in 2012, he's been recording every single thing that I've done. And so he's been growing in his realm of recording, and I've been growing as an artist this whole time, and we've had this relationship throughout it. And so it's like anytime I'm recording a record, hey Dan, how you doing? And he's like, he knows my music now, like, so he can like, he's like, I would say he's like an assistant producer too, so he like can make suggestions like, actually I think this would speak better. And then all my musicians that I have in my ensembles, I mean, I'm blessed to have them as friends. And Chicago was just, I mean, I think, I know I'm biased, but Chicago's the best city in the world. So
I like it too. That's why I'm around here.
Yeah. So okay, now I want to pivot a little bit. Obviously, you are an artist on Bits and Music, and we know about you now. We know about your love for music, your history, just what fuels you. Now I want to pivot to the world that we live in now with streaming, because I think just like it is with AI, I think that is a very topical conversation. Obviously, that's what's inspired you to start something new. But as an artist that has predated Bitten's existence, can you tell us about your experience of just music consumption at the beginning of your career with, physical releases and streaming, and just what led you to this area where now you have your music on Bitten and not on major streaming services? Because that's a big decision to make, especially when you're established. All your work was previously released on something. That's truthfully a big leap of faith, and definitely want to thank you and commend you for that. I think that shows just, trust in us, which I think is great. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on that and just your experiences.
Yeah. So I would say when I first got into making albums, physical albums played a whole lot more role in artists creating product. Because I would say like we all bought our friends' records, and then we listened to it on streaming or whatever. But it was like there was still that excitement to buy a record. But then as time went on, like the physical thing that became more and more obsolete. Despite that, I was like, okay, I'm still going to create physical product because I love being able to hand something to someone. And then in addition to that, even if they don't actually listen to the music on the disc and they just stream it, or they don't even listen to it at all, I want to give them a piece of art that they can look at and that shows what that album is about. Even if they don't listen to it, I hope they listen to it.
Yeah.
I hope they love it. But I want to hand them something that is a piece of art as well. And so I always put a lot of time into creating these beautiful physical copies that someone may or may not ever see, because that doesn't matter. What matters to me is creating the art. But then we get to, streaming. I was on Spotify and Apple Music, and then I think I was on a bunch of other ones too, through CD Baby. But like, I don't even know if I received any money over the years. I think there's a couple people who bought my record on CD Baby, and I got money from them. But in terms of like streaming, I don't think I made anything from these streaming services. And I mean, yes, and it's in a way it's like, people around the world can listen to your music, which is great. That's a beautiful thing. I would love people in South Africa or China to be able to listen to my music and enjoy it. But at what cost? And as time went on, and I got to hear more and more about like, okay, what's actually happening in the streaming world? Who's making this money? Like who's being taken advantage of? And then Jeff started talking more and more about this Bitten idea that he had to found it. And then he founded it, and then probably, I don't know, maybe a month or two or three afterwards, I really felt God leading me like, nope, take all your music off of these immoral and corrupt platforms, all of them, and be exclusively on Bitten. And so that's where I've been ever since. And, I would say, yes, it's a tough journey because, like I can't go to, I used to be able to go up to like some random person I just met and like, you can look me up on Spotify. I'm there, but I can't necessarily do that at this point in time. But I could say, you could go to Bitten, or, I have my stuff on YouTube, my videos on YouTube. So,
and we're trying to accommodate more of that. I mean, that's the whole idea of the coupons. Like you can have an array of coupons and say, hey, you want to listen to me for 2 or 3 months? Here, take this in, just put this in your coupon code and you can listen to me. I mean, so that's a way of being able to say, hey, look, there's really no reason not to.
Yep.
You can do that. And we're trying to incorporate that into the artist's psyche to be able to utilize that more, to be able to give it away for a while.
Yeah.
And then they can listen to you and then maybe they'll go, okay, yeah, I think I'm going to hang. It's so expensive, $1.50. Holy mackerel! So what else can you buy for $1.50?
Not much.
Can you buy water for
a pack of gum?
A pack of gum, maybe.
Yeah.
So obviously, streaming, I would say, is probably one of the number one music consumption devices. And why do you think that has become above everything else?
I think just for, like when I've had friends or loved ones or, girlfriends who were non-musicians, I think for just ease, like it's super easy to just put on Spotify and, you have access to every single thing that has been recorded in the history of recorded music and it's free, or you just have to pay $10 a month. Like, okay, for ease, I mean, that's easy.
Yeah.
And so it's like you don't have to think about it, But I think when I interact with people who are more mindful with what they listen to, they want to find music. But I mean, at the same time, even with them, even with myself, like there's times where it's like, okay, I'm listening to stuff on Apple Music. I'm not on Spotify, by the way. Like, not only is my music not on Spotify, but I don't even subscribe to Spotify
as a consumer.
Anymore. Yeah.
Okay.
But Apple Music, I subscribe. But yeah.
Well, I think that brings up a good point that I've thought about for a while. I mean, because I do think there is something easy about, in the palm of your hand, you basically have just the history of music. Maybe not from the original person, but there's a version of that song, and it's everything. Anything you can think of is there. So that's
the
cool.
Jukebox in the sky.
Yeah, the jukebox in the sky, everything's there, right? Yeah. But I think that because of, it's almost like information overload. There's so much now that I think the act of listening to music is kind of like dead. In a sense.
Well, and to that point, I think more and more you get what I would call passive listening, where it's like you're doing the dishes, the music's on. You're driving, the music's on. You're doing something where you're not really focusing on the music, but the music is on. I mean, I listen to stuff passively all the time, you know, but there's something really special about when you're actively listening, like when you're like, that's all you're doing. And I would say that this kind of conversation deals with not only streaming but with just phones or technology in general. It's so easy to multitask. It's so easy to kind of like let your focus go to all these different places at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Whereas like what I feel more called to do, especially recently, is like, no, this is my focus. So I'm having conversation with these people right now. I'm not even looking at my phone.
Yeah.
Like, be really intentional about where your focus is, because otherwise, if you just let,
it'll all go crazy.
It'll all go.
Well, now speaking on that, as a musician, you do gigs. You're constantly playing music live. Have you noticed? There's a classic meme of just like, oh, not a phone in sight at a concert, and it's a crowd of people with their phones out that are like more focused on recording. Also, I could remember it instead of like, why don't you make the memory now? You paid, especially when they're on these big arena tours and they're like, you paid like $500 to stand down there. You'd think you'd want to just experience that. Have you noticed that, like, as an artist, a shift of like, people be recording more or not paying attention as much? And how does that affect you as an artist?
So I would say this is both artists and musicians. Because there's musicians I play with who are recording the band or themselves or whatever. So I think there's good things and bad things with both the audience or the musicians recording. With the audience or musicians recording, you got documentation. And especially as an artist who thrives on social media, like sharing that is like, okay, proof of like, hey, I can play.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I play in this setting too. So there's an aspect of that's really important, and you benefit from it. But there is also an aspect where it's like, okay, they're not truly paying attention, whether that's another musician on the bandstand or whether that's someone in the audience that they're filming. They're not truly paying attention. I think ideally there'd be a way of doing both where you could document it, but then not even have to worry. It's just the documentation is happening, kind of like that phone right there. Like you guys aren't focusing on that phone right now, but it's documenting us,
Hopefully.
I hope I hit record. If not, this will be an audio podcast, and there won't be any video involved. So and I will be fired, and I will, I won't have a job.
But yeah, I mean, so you guys are both focused on the conversation, even though one of your phones is up there recording. And I think that would be the best way for either a musician or an artist or audience member, is where your focus is where it should be, and if you want to document it, something is documenting it for you. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work, but
yeah, I think.
So go back to Bitten a little bit more. Like then, you felt led to go to put. You took your music down off of Spotify, and you
actually I took my music down off of CD Baby, which was the distributor to all of those places.
Right. And so that then how difficult was that?
I mean, it was fairly simple. I just had to go onto the CD Baby website and, log in and be like, yes, please take this off of all the partners. And so, because my music was actually on, I think it was on every streaming service.
Like so not Deezer
just
and all of them.
Tidal and all that stuff in it. And so it took it off of everything.
Oh, my God. Yeah, because we have another artist, too, who's, phenomenal sax player, too, Sean Maxwell. And he's having trouble getting stuff off. you know. And so
Well, I think he's also dealing with, because he
about
had a label.
3 or 4 labels.
Yeah, and so
And they
that's a
don't-
whole other ball. Because I'm an independent artist, so I've released everything.
Right.
You call
just
the shots.
I call the shots, which is why I like being independent artist. But it also means you have to do more work.
Right. But
no
that's
one else
who
is
we're
helping.
looking for. We're looking for independent artists. That's what that's the people we resonate with. You know, and we want to continue to do that.
That is like the scale though of being an independent artist is like you call all the shots, but then you have to follow up on those shots. You can't, you could hire someone to do your social media. You could hire this person, that person, but given the state of the world, chances are you're probably not going to be hiring someone, and you got to do that yourself. So that is like the aspect of like, it's really cool. You call the shots, but you do have to put in a little bit more effort.
Yep.
And as and I want to pivot now to that, because you're independent, right? How do you find a balance between, because I see a lot of videos of people like, I just want to do the music, man. And I mean, I can understand that, because it's like, I just spent my whole, I spent a year working on this piece of music and I put everything into it. And now I just have to do all this promotion, all of this, just to like hopefully keep it in front of someone's attention for 10 seconds. Hopefully that I catch them scrolling on their phone at the right time. I mean, it's the game that you have to play now. So that I feel like adds a lot of stress, because now you're like, all right, now I have to be, I have to market this, I have to do this, I have to do that. As an independent artist, what are some of the things you do to like keep yourself grounded, or to make sure that you're like doing the best that you can with the like multiple hats that you have to wear?
Yeah, so great question. For me, that also brought up, that ties into my answer, that streaming, one of the beautiful things about streaming is it kind of leveled the playing field. Like before I would say maybe before, like in the 90s or before, you needed a record label. You needed to be signed as an artist to a label in order to have an album. It was very rare that you had musicians who were just independent being able to do whatever they want to do, create albums and stuff like that.
Because it was so expensive.
It's so expensive, yeah. And so streaming, I would say, and YouTube and all that stuff, like social media, it has leveled the playing field. So like it's allowed me as an independent artist to do all this work. So it is a blessing to be an independent artist, and to be able to be an independent artist. However, as you said, that means that you have a lot of work. Basically, the work that a label would do for you, you have to do on your own. And so, to your question, how do you handle that and create art and deal with all the other stuff that's non-artistic? So, getting back to what I said earlier, like the composing, performing, recording the album is the tip of the iceberg, and then everything else in creating an album is below. So that's post-production, that's promotion, that's all this stuff. It requires a lot of work. That said, when the album is released, when you've done everything you can with the publicity campaign, whatever thing you're doing, and it's released, it's out of your hands. And it has a life of its own, and it's out of your hands, and you need to treat it that way. Like, you just gave birth to a child, and you have to let it, and it has a very, it's been an adolescent now. So you just have to
Grew up really fast.
It grew up really fast. But you just have to let it go. It has a life of its own. I can't make people want to listen to my music. I can't make people like my music, and nor should I, and nor would I want to. Because I want the people who listen to my music and who rock with it, I want them to be there genuinely. Yes, so you may get a different answer to that question from other musicians, because I kind of operate my career in a very different way, where I'm not necessarily focused on those kind of things. Even though it would be nice. Oh, it'd be nice to have all these, accolades and all these people listening to my music. But that's not necessarily my focus, and nor do I want it to be. I want the focus always to be God and the music and sharing love and creating art. That's what I want the focus to be. Now, it does mean, like, finishing an album is a lot of work, especially when your focus is like all these pure ideals and all that stuff. Like it's a lot of work to finish an album, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of finishing an album, I want this. I think both want this podcast to be, all about the artists we're highlighting, and by just letting people know as much about you so they could learn about you. And like you said earlier in today's episode, you have a new project on the way, and I want to give you this time to talk as much as you want about it through just the process, the love behind it, whatever it was, so people can just get excited for what you have coming up.
Yeah. So I would say, as any Christian or any human being, the last year or two, any human being with a heart of love, watching the news, I was already feeling frustrated, but it's particularly this last year with this new administration, every single day it was like more and more frustration, more and more anger, more and more
outrageous,
and there's this fire in me. It was just like continuing to burn, and it became, like the prophet Jeremiah said, like fire shut up in my bones. I could not hold on to it, and so I had to bring it out. And I was actually, I don't know if I told you this, I was actually working on a whole nother album last year, like
fire, besides the one that you're working. Oh, okay.
I was working on this whole other project, the whole other idea, but then as this fire just kept growing, I was like, no, I have to put that aside, and I have to work on this now. This protest album, speaking directly against all that's happening, and all that these people are using God's name to do all this evil. And so it's like, no, that's not what the Jesus I worship stands for. So this drawing specifically from the Matthew's Gospel, where he talks about the least of these. Jesus says, "What you've done to the least of these people, you have done to me." And so I composed a suite of music so that each movement is a different part of that message. So the first track, I was hungry, but then you cut snap. Second track, I was thirsty, but I lived in Flint, Michigan. Third track, I was a stranger, but ICE deported me. And so each of the 6 tracks speaks to a different group of people that Jesus resonates with and is being evilly harmed, has been and will, and looks like is continuing to do so. And so I wrote a protest music, and because it was a protest, I wrote it for the Chicago Windy City Ramblers, which is a second line brass band that I play in all the time, because that's street music. It's New Orleans street music that has been created in Chicago. So it's Chicago's version of New Orleans second line. And it has energy, it has fire, it has
great players.
Yes, and it's full of phenomenal players. And in true second line fashion, like, the music's memorized. And so I taught all of my musicians every single part. So they had this memorized for this live recording protest that we were doing. And it's some of
it was pretty intense.
Yes, it's some of my most challenging melodies that I've actually written over train changes or inner changes. So, I've as you were saying, I'm blessed with incredible musicians who help me to bring these projects to fruition. But also, my pastor, who you mentioned before, Father Michael Flegger, he's a civil rights icon. And he's been fighting the good fight for social justice on the south side of Chicago at my church, St. Sabina, for 50 plus years now. And so I had him do some spoken word on the end of each movement, and then he prayed on the end of it. And so all of that's a part of the album. And
Now, is this a studio recording or no?
Not a live recording.
Live recording. Yeah. So like the emotions raw with the audience.
There was only one performance of it, right?
Yeah, only one performance, and so one take.
Yeah.
So the editing process was really easy. It's like, well, it's one take. That's the take.
I don't have 100 playlists of my sax solo. It's just what you see is what you got.
Yep.
But okay, but because now, is this the first record that you've done that has been a one thing, one live show, and what we performed is what's on the record?
Yes. Yeah.
So coming from studio sessions, which, I've worked in studio sessions. When I'm engineering, it's let's loop this section and we'll get the best take we possibly can. We'll move on to the next, which is fun and great. But there's a challenge, but I also think a freedom to, hey, we're going to hit record, and when you're done, we'll stop it. And what we have is what we have. Now, as an artist, do you find, like, did it feel different going into this performance? Obviously, there was a weight behind the music. There was emotion behind it, as there is with everything. But going into this with, like, what I play today is going to be recorded. And how I play, all my mistakes, all of that, I'm not going to have 20 different takes to look back at.
Yeah, so there's more pressure, but I think it's beautiful because there's something about a rawness that is real, that's human, where it's like mistakes, flaws, and all, grit in the sound, like it's beautiful, and it has extra emotional impact, and so I think this was the perfect way to do this record specifically, and actually, it made the post-production process so much easier. I might actually do a lot more live records going forward because there's something about the studio where, like, you could do like 3 to 5 takes of a tune, and it's like it's beautiful to be able to do that, to dive into some material in that way. But it's also this new way of just like, oh, we're playing this, and whatever comes out, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like there's a really a cool aspect of that. So yeah.
And the cool thing for you, and too, this is, I think the beauty of Bitten in many ways too is the fact that all your music is in one place, and so people can say, these particular songs off Heart are really, they just kill it for me. I'm going to make a playlist of that, but I want to take some from Repentance and make a playlist with that. And now this new one, I'm going to add, to that. So they can kind of, in some ways, sculpt their version of you too, and then, you can, as you're, again, when people are if they're interested in hearing Jacob's music, all you have to do is get a hold of us at Bitten Music, at info at Bitten Music, and say, hey, I'd like a coupon to listen to his music, and we'll get you one, and so then there you go. You can be listening to him for 2 or 3 months for free and see what you do like of, these sort of adventures. Because, right now you do still have a thing with Dan for your physical media, right? He has a outlet for like your CDs and things like that. Do you have any actual albums like vinyl, or you just do CDs?
I just do CDs. Vinyl is super expensive, as you know, and it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Isn't it like 6 months is like kind of like the minimum time for, and that's kind of pushing it for like getting that out?
There's this company that I found that does like vinyl for like,
little batches.
Yeah, little batches. So like you would get a master done, and then people could order whatever vinyl they wanted. But my album was the one that I just recorded is too long for. So it's like, okay, maybe
I think I know exactly what you're talking about, but I've looked into them too.
Yeah, maybe one of these upcoming albums I'll do vinyl.
Yeah, see, because that's one of the things too that I've been trying to encourage with artists too. If you're still in the Spotify world and say, look, I just can't give it up. Well, you don't have to go full bore Bitten. You could go, okay, I'm going to have some stuff on Spotify, but I got to have some proprietary stuff that people are, is going to hear that draws them to Bitten. But then always your whole discography's on there too, and just having, I am supporting that artist. I love all their stuff, and I'm going to listen to the different albums and put them together in different ways, and so that's, I think, a great thing.
You're talking to, like, I'm a collector,
or
like I'm, I guess, very almost OCD, and like I love having sets of things, like whether it's a set of an artist's music or whatever, and so for me, like if I was a listener and the artist who I was really excited about happened to be on Bitten, and they happened to have some albums that were exclusively on Bitten, I would want to subscribe to them Unbitten so that I could have access to everything, rather than like only part of it. So I think that could be a very useful tool for someone who is an artist who has stuff on Spotify, but they want to start exploring this bitten option as well.
Yeah. So now, correct me if I'm wrong. You were at the concert that the record was recorded at, correct? So I want to speak.
all his concerts.
So, but specifically at the one that we're gonna be able to listen to at a certain amount of time. So I want to ask, like, what was it like to be there in the room as an audience member? What was that?
Well, I was with Albie.
Like?
Okay. Albie and I went, and he was like moved to tears. I was like, I know, man. I'm telling you, this is really powerful. So it was a powerful moment. I mean, everybody's the way they received it. Too. It's just a vibrant church too. That they support you. And they, there's a lot of love for you there. And it was. We were both like, whoa, this needs to be out there. So I'm glad that Dan, again, meticulous in every form. I mean, he's a great videographer. He's a great engineer. So that's coming too, which is a beautiful thing that he actually
have both video and audio.
Video and audio.
Yep.
And is this another first like is it like video, like a big video recording of your concert, or have you had that before?
I mean, I've had video recordings of all like my release shows for my previous records, but this is the first time that it's the video of the actual album.
Okay.
Being recorded or performed.
Yeah. What are you most excited about this release? Like, what is the moment that you're excited for fans of Jacob and new fans, anyone that gets this album and listens to it? What's the moment that you are most excited for them to experience?
I'm very, very excited to show that there is another way.
Yes.
Because the news and everything, it's all pointing to more and more hate, more and more twisted divisiveness, and it's like, no, there's another way, and there's a better way, and that can be done, and to bringing it about through this medium of music that I've been blessed with. I mean, it's a humbling experience, but it's I'm very excited to show, like, no, there's another way. This is not what's happening in the world today is not the right way, and there's another way.
I mean, obviously, I think I am biased in saying that I think you're not only a great musician, but a great person. And I'm not just saying this like for the podcast and all that, but like I truly think, like, through knowing you as a teacher, and I think you are genuinely a fantastic person. I think this is something to say about music, is the soul behind it. Because you and I could play the same notes. I might be a little more flat than you, but we can play the same notes. But our intentions behind the notes we play, why we're playing them, or we could sing the same lyrics or the same or play the same guitar chords, but everything that we're doing has a different emotion behind it and a different intention. And I think you can tell a difference. Oh yeah. I think you could 100% tell a difference of like what is driving someone. And I just want to say to you, I genuinely think, like, listening to your music, you could hear, I mean, passion doesn't begin to describe it. I could hear, like, the fuel of the Lord, the Spirit in you, to be something that isn't just like, oh, I want to be a musician. It's like, no, there's a purpose behind it. Yep. And I think everything that you've said today has further proved it, but it didn't need proof. I think the proof is in the music. And I just want to thank you, because I think it's important. I think sometimes, I know we talked about this in our interview with King Zig, there's a lot of music out, right? I mean, which is awesome. Like, don't hear what I'm not saying. Like, music is great. Yep. Give me more. Yes. But because of that, and going on with what you said about passive listening, I think we sometimes oftentimes forget there's a real human person behind that. And there's emotions that went into the writing. There's a series of events of life that led to those certain notes to be sung that way, those words to be used, for it to be arranged this way. There's so much that goes into it. Obviously, there's post-production, but there's just the life that led up to that moment, that led up to that person going, this needs to be something I do. This is important. That being said, I think it's good to hear artists speak on that, because I think sometimes we forget, this isn't just a song. There's a story behind it. There's a reason behind it. So I want to thank you for going as in depth about, I know that the record isn't out yet, but I think I'm thankful that you went in depth about the passion behind it, about the story behind it, because I think it's important for people to know that going into it. Yeah. And just knowing what you're trying to say. Yeah. And I definitely want to, you deserve all the accolades. I think that's great.
Oh, man, I love you, man. Thank you so much. Thank both of you. And to your point, like my favorite musicians, who I listen to on repeat all the time, they can play one note. Or you could like play them playing one note for like 2 seconds. I know who that is. Because I know that the sound, like everybody has a very personal signature sound. Who I love. And like, as I said, like I could hear two seconds of Train and be like, oh, that's Train. Or 2 seconds of a musician and oh, I know exactly who that is. And so it's like, it's not just what you play, it's how you play it and why you play it. Because really, what this is all about, for me, this is all about, sharing God's love through music. The gifts of music that I've been given. So to the point that you had asked me earlier, like my background. So I come from 5 generations of pastors and ministers. I'm not a pastor or minister, but I'm a musician. And so it's like, I feel like my ancestors, that same kind of teaching spirit, God sharing spirit is embedded in me, even though my gifts and my ministry is very different than them.
Mm-hmm. Ministry of music. The Psalms say it all the time, praising God with harp and lyre, all the time they say it. And I think that that's another thing that you said way early on about, that God's love through music, I think is so important, because I think everyone around this table and probably everyone listening has had moments where they've listened to something and it has affected them in such a profound way. It goes back to what you were saying about like if what I play, if that note I play makes someone feel something, that you've done your job, that you have that is more than the trophies, any of that.
Likes on Instagram.
The likes on Instagram. Hey, reshare this album, guys. No, that is more, and I think that is just the beautiful thing about music. I feel like, do you have any other questions for Jacob?
I'm just... This is terrific. We can go on for hours. But
yeah. But before we wrap up, I just want to, again, give you thanks. And I want to tell everyone, please follow Jacob. Please go subscribe to him on Bidden, because I think he's obviously doing some fantastic stuff. He's got some new stuff coming out that he just talked about. And, you're gonna get good stuff. Trust me, you're gonna get good stuff.
Yeah, come to info@bidden.com if you want to, coupon to try them out, and we'll be glad to, provide that for you.
And is there, before we wrap up here, is there anything else you want to say? Any closing remarks on whatever?
I just want to thank you guys for fighting the good fight.
Thank you.
For not only having me on here. That's beautiful, and your kind and nice words is very, very meaningful. But for fighting the good fight, in terms of having artists being another way for artists as well, to stream and to have people listen to their music. And so I hope to encourage you guys both in that, as I continue to be exclusively on Bitten.
Yay!
So I just want to encourage you guys and thank you guys for all that you do with Bitten. So
awesome. Well, thank you again.
Thanks.
Well, thanks again, everyone, for coming into listening to Artists in the Wild with Jeff, myself, and Jacob. Jacob's Bitten profile will be linked in the description. Make sure to subscribe to him. Make sure to support him. We love him. We love you guys. And thank you so much. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Artists in the Wild with our very special guest, Jacob Slocum. Please be sure to check the description below and follow the link to subscribe to him on Bitten Music. Please stay tuned for any upcoming episodes. Thank you so much.